Hello everyone. I'm going to do a quick demonstration of how I use Dr. Ice in geography. This is a Year 8 class, or a Year 8 teaching file, I should say. And this is some of the ways in which I deliver each of the elements of Dr. Ice. To make it easy, I've actually put them in order. So I'm going to start off with D and make my way through to E by the end of the lesson. So you can see how I've used each of the areas within my lesson. You don't have to do it this way. You don't have to use all 5 areas. You can just choose 1 or 2 areas for each lesson. I know that with my GCSE classes, I've been trying to include most of the elements within a lesson or a series of lessons. But again, we have to have some guidance on whether that's the right way of doing it. I'm not sure 100% if you should be doing all 5 in one lesson. Maybe just concentrating on one area per lesson, or over 2 or 3 lessons concentrating on 1 or 2 areas only. So here's my lesson. It's about coastal landforms. It's a really exciting lesson. Obviously, way more exciting than all of your lessons that you would do, where pupils got to learn about coastal landforms, and they enjoy this. There's my Bloom slide. Obviously, I use the backdrop of a photograph always, and then I add flying in the learning objectives, which get more challenging as we move through. So straight away, challenge of Dr. Ice is being met by just doing your Bloom slide at the start of a lesson. So every single lesson, as long as you're doing your Bloom slide, you challenging pupils' expectations if your Blooms is written correctly and you making each task more challenging. But for me, my starter lesson is looking at deepening thinking. And I've used one of our reasoning rectangles here with a photograph of a spit, and the pupils had to complete each of those particular 3 questions. And it's the inference question, which is where really the deepening thinking comes in. Pupils here would have to think about what might happen to this spit in the future. How could humans better manage the processes of longshore drift in the future? And it gets them deepening their thinking about what they've already understood about this image. So this is a lesson that we looked at previously. My main lesson then is about pupils having to explain a range of large-scale coastal landforms. And for this, I started out with role modeling some different examples. So I think it's 4 role model examples in the teacher's file here, which are both student, teacher, and other people's demonstrations. The first one is one I do myself using Microsoft Paint. I very cleverly have colored in this image of a coastline in Mallorca. And you can't see this now because it links to another file, but what basically would happen, a cave would appear, an arch would appear, the stack would appear, then it all gets eroded away to leave a stump and a reef. So pupils would understand basically some of those features, and I talk over this as I'm teaching. The second demonstration, again, I can't show you this, is I've gone online and I found a teacher using VideoScribe. It's a brilliant app. It is free of charge and it enables you to talk and draw on like a whiteboard on your iPad or tablet device. And it's a really nice little video. I'll try to add the link to that later so you can see it. But this one is really slowed down. And because it's more visual than mine, with little diagrams and little explanations as well, this is the one that people should find more valuable. Alternatively, the VideoScribe is also one called Show Me. And the Show Me app is free of charge. And I think French have been using that recently. Is that right, Anna? Thank you. The third demonstration I do as part of role modeling is they actually watch a real life video clip where we go around the Pembrokeshire coastline. It's only a 2.5-minute clip, but it just shows them some of the features that they would find, such as the Green Bridge Arch there. And finally, the most traditional technique in geography to understand and recognize some coastal landforms is through diagrams. So we talk about this diagram briefly at the end. And then the pupils have to now write their first big task of the lesson, which is to explain how headlands and bays are formed, which are 2 landforms shown in the previous examples. So they talk about headlands and bays, and it's quite a challenging task for them. They've seen the images, they've seen the diagrams, they've heard the explanations, but now they have to put it down on paper themselves. And I always ask them, when they're explaining these coastal landforms, to draw a diagram, which is actually a GCSE requirement for them. So we're getting them trained up, even at the end of year 8 now. We're trying to train them up for some of the skills that they might face in an exam in 2 years' time or 3 years' time. So this diagram would be needed. I do help them. Part of the challenge is differentiation. So I differentiate this first challenging task in 3 ways. The first thing they would have in that they can stick into the margin of their book is a little structure to write the perfect response, a little 4-stage structure. 4 there representing the marks. Then for others, more visual learners, they need to see exactly what the bay and headland is. Again, they will have forgotten the video clip. So here we've got both the photograph and the diagram with some little annotations on there already. So many of my weaker pupils will simply copy that. Others will adapt it and do their own version. Some will draw a sketch of the Ludlow Cove here in the photograph. And for our most, or our least able pupils, I should say, I've also given them a help box, which they could then rearrange in order. Currently, it's gone out of sync a little bit, but currently, the statements are written in the wrong order, and the pupils will have to put these into the correct order. For our SEN classes, what I would be expecting though is to have some pre-written sentence starters, some keywords to help them to structure that. But to be honest, with most of our discrete groups, this kind of task would be done in a different way anyway. Then looking at the next element of Dr. Ice, impact on learning. Once the pupils have written their explanations, which can take sometimes 20, 25 minutes, I then take a look at some pupils' examples from the lesson, either by reading them out, taking their books, or imaging, photographing rather the work that they've done, and then showing off that on the board so we as a class can look at what was good, what was bad areas for improvement, and so on. And if you use the wow, how now approach here or something similar, then that's a nice way of keeping in the school policies as well. And another part of impact on learning is it giving pupils a chance to reflect. And obviously they could reflect on their work and which specific areas of their explanations are accurate or which ones need to be improved. They can also reflect on the way in which they are learning. I think looking at metacognition in this way and analyzing their metacognition techniques is really, really important. So did they learn best by listening to me? Did they learn best by watching a visual explanation through a film? Did they actually learn best from when they were in their groups talking to each other, asking for ideas, which they were allowed to do in this lesson? So I want to know a little bit about how pupils and learning, and for them themselves, it's really important they have a little think about how they're learning the work. So that was the main part of the lesson. There was another task as well where they did a little sort and they had to explain different formations as well from the lesson. And then leading into the engagement element. Obviously, pupils were working during the task and they were heavily engaged. Some worked in pairs, some worked in threes to complete their explanations. But I think what meets this criteria really nicely now is the fact that they got another task, an extension task to do about these coastal landform formations. And what I've set them there is something where they are going to be creative and imaginative to explain one coastal landform and how it was created. So I've got one pupil who has decided that they're going to superimpose themselves crawling along the floor, tilting the image so it looks like they're climbing up the totem pole, which is one of the most unique stack features in Australia. Libby here, you can see Libby did a backdrop using Durdle Door down in the south coast, and she's explained how arches formed, and she's done that using green screen technology, which is really simple. Just download the app Doink onto your iPad or tablet, and it is simply just add the image and then video the pupil standing in front of a green board, a green screen. If you've got, I might just use some green backing paper on my interactive whiteboard, and it just very quickly takes literally a few minutes. Again, I can't show you Libby's. I'll try to add the link in somewhere onto the Alivi folder for you to listen to it. But Libby's first attempt was really poor. She didn't structure it. She hadn't thought about what she was going to say. She spent a long time choosing the image. But obviously now my job would be to perhaps role model some things for Libby to look at to improve, do some analysis, get the pupils themselves perhaps analyzing Libby's work and suggesting that they can improve this as well. But that was it. And if you're wondering how I've done all this and presented this to you today, I've used Screencastify, which is a little add-on you can get for free of charge from the Google Chrome store. Just go to Google Chrome, look for Screencastify, and at the top on your toolbar here, you can see the Screencastify symbol, and that will enable you to do these screen video files. Thank you very much.